So I started going through his briefcase, looking through his stuff, trying to find clues. And to my horror, I found the next thing that crushed me. My name is Alta McMaster. I was born in 1963 into a very conservative Afrikaans family. I had a very happy childhood. I had an absolutely amazing father and mother who really took good care of us. My childhood memories are just happy memories of annual holidays and, just a loving, caring family around us. When I matriculated, I didn't know what I wanted to do next, so as a lot of ladies did back then, I went to Secretarial College, did a year's training there, joined my first company where I started working, and at that point I was exposed to human resources. And it was at this one firm where I met my husband. He was a contractor who came in to do building work there, and it was almost love at first sight. As girls, we always have this fairy tale in our head that we're going to meet our Prince Charming and we're going to have this perfect life ahead of us. Well, I met him and he totally swept me off my feet. It was love at first sight. And he was also like fun-loving, and he had the naughty side to him, like he'd shoot elastics out from the corner of the office to fly past my hair so that I could look around. We got engaged about 3 months after we met, which shocked both families because it was so soon. And then we got married a year after that.
You make me the happiest man in the world. Take my hand in marriage.
I wanted to have children straight away and have this happy family picture complete. I eventually fell pregnant with twins, so we were over the moon, totally ecstatic about it. And unfortunately, at 24 weeks, I miscarried. So we were devastated. But soon after that, I was pregnant again, and I had a healthy 4.3 kilogram baby. So my family was taking shape. I had my husband, my beautiful baby. 4 years after that, I fell pregnant again. So there was I with my happy family, my gorgeous husband. We had bought a home, my 2 children, we had dogs. Everything was just perfect. So I was fulfilling my normal function of being a wife, being a mother. I was studying part-time, I was working a full-time job. Everything was just absolutely perfect, and I thought that I was the happiest person because I had everything that my heart desired. It was my perfect path. So the next part of my life, I call it my tsunami, because it was quite literally one wave after the other that just washed away everything that I had. And like a tsunami, you can't prepare for what's coming. It just leaves destruction in its path. So my husband had his own business. So he approached me the one day to let me know the business was not doing well and he was being liquidated. We had 2 weeks to be out of our home because the bank was repossessing the home. We had to pack up everything. I moved back in with my mum and dad. His dad had a bachelor flat up in Joburg, so he moved in there because there wasn't enough space in my mum and dad's house. So I approached the bank, got a pre-approved bond, and started house hunting. So we found this tiny little house next to a petrol depot. Didn't care that it was tiny, didn't care that it was next to a petrol depot. It was a chance for us to get the family back together again under one roof and to start building up a life again.
Why? Why is it so difficult? Just because you don't like
It was at that point where I started realizing changes in my husband. Affection started turning to aggression. There wasn't much kindness anymore. At times I felt like there was a stranger in the house. So, you know, we all have this womanly intuition, and I just realized there was something wrong and I didn't know what it was. And I always say to people, if you have that intuition and you have a feeling that something isn't right, it normally isn't. Find out what's wrong. So I started going through his briefcase, looking through his stuff, trying to find clues. And to my horror, I found the next thing that crushed me. I found a little bag of white powder in his briefcase, and I knew this was cocaine. He got home. I confronted him with what I had found, and he admitted to me that he'd been using drugs for quite some time and not just cocaine. So I knew what invaded our lives and what took our home and the happiness we had away from us. But at this point, because I now knew that he was using drugs, it was no longer a secret. So he'd often use it at home, not caring if the children were there or not. So I often then had to load my children in a car and get them away from the house and take them to my mom's place, because I wanted to protect them. I didn't want them to be exposed to what was happening. Womanly intuition said to me again, you need to go and look through those briefcases, see if you can find something. So into that briefcase I went again. And this time, to my horror, I discovered a newspaper ad where he had circled the ad, providing his sexual services. He told me that for 12 years of our 14-year marriage, he'd been having affairs with other men. When he said that to me, it was, I heard what he was saying, but my mind wouldn't accept it. So I listened to him, and I remember saying to him, oh, so you have lots of friends who are guys? And he went, yes. And then I said, oh, that's nice. And he had a smile on his face, and he said to me, thanks for understanding. And then I was sitting there, I was so confused, and I was just feeling, what he said to me is not what I thought. Then I asked him further, and I said, what do you actually mean? And then he said to me he had sexual relations with other men. It just blew my mind completely. I think I just sat there, I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to do. I was just sitting there staring at him. Because it was the furthest thing from what I could ever have imagined. So, I mean, people say to me, hey, how did you not know? There should have been signs. But when you totally love someone and you've given them your whole heart, you don't see these things, you don't see the signs, although they're there. Afterwards, when you look back, you might think, oh, this is what happened. So I don't blame myself for not picking up anything, because I loved my husband, I trusted him. So I felt so deeply that I needed to speak to someone about what had happened, just so that someone else knew. But at that point, his dad was seriously ill with cancer. My dad was seriously ill with emphysema, so I just felt that I couldn't load anything extra on the two families. Then came the next phase where in 1 month I had 3 bad knocks in my life. The first one is his dad passed away from the cancer. I was devastated because I had a very close relationship with him. A few days after that, me and my girls went to visit my mum and dad because my dad was at home from hospital. And as I locked my door, there was a gun in my window and there was guys on the other side of the car as well. So it was a hijacking. So I unlocked the door, and up to today I don't think I'll ever forget the face that was behind the barrel of the gun that was in my face, and I was just so worried about my children. My mom had seen what was happening in the street, ran into the house and got her little gun. Fortunately, she locked the security gate and the key dropped in behind the seat, so she couldn't find her key. So all she could do was fire off a shot in the grass, because they tried to grab me and the children and shove us back into the car at that point. And with the shot going, they let go of us, and that gave us an opportunity to run away. A few days after that, and I still believe up to today, it's because of the shock of what he went through from inside the house, seeing what was happening to his children outside, my dad passed away. I was devastated, but at this point as well, I think with all the emotions that I had and everything that had happened, and me not knowing how to deal with it, I went into a stage of numbness. I could not feel anything. I don't think I even cried on my father's funeral. So life continued, and then I was sitting the one day thinking, you know, I'm married to this guy. He doesn't have an income. He's got a drug habit. He's still using drugs. Where is he getting the money from? So that womanly intuition said to me again, you need to go and look through those briefcases, see if you can find something. So into that briefcase I went again. And this time, to my horror, I discovered a newspaper ad where he had circled the ad, providing his sexual services to other men. So he was prostituting himself for drug money. I mean, you just get to a point where your mind just can't work through the information in front of you. Then came what I call the unthinkable. One of these so-called newspaper clients of his discovered he was married, and then offered him double if he could have me while my husband was watching. So I found myself drugged in my own home, strangely let in, and I was raped in my room while my children were sleeping next door, while my husband was in the same room. I was aware of what was happening, but I was powerless to stop it. His brother immediately blamed me that I murdered him. So I was sitting there thinking, what do I do now? Who do I speak to? How do I tell people my husband did this to me? How do I someday tell my children this is what their father did? And it was just too painful for me to even think that. So I decided I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm just going to keep this and pretend it never happened. The only thing I did do was go to our family GP to get medical attention, to make sure that physically I was okay. Mentally, I was struggling. So the next thing I did was I asked him to leave the home, because I was concerned about what might happen to my children, and I immediately started with divorce proceedings. That was again another whole difficult stage, because I didn't want him to have the children on his own because of his drug problem, but I couldn't get him to just have supervised visitations because they told me I need proof first that he would hurt the children before I can do that. The only thing I could get was that they didn't sleep over at his place, so he'd come on a Saturday morning, collect the children, and then bring them back on a Saturday evening and collect them again on the Sunday morning. So this happened every second weekend. Obviously I was out of my mind every time he had my children with him. Then came the one Saturday morning and he just didn't pitch to collect the children. So I thought he often went out where he told me he went out to parties where they had drugs and stuff. So my natural thought was this is what he was doing again, so it didn't pay much attention. Then I tried to phone him on the Monday, couldn't get hold of him. And then I phoned his brother to say, I can't get hold of him. His brother then drove out to where he was staying to find that he had passed away in his apartment. His brother immediately blamed me that I murdered him. He wouldn't believe that his brother was a drug addict. So it was a terrible stage where he was accusing me of murder, trying to get the police to arrest me. But obviously that didn't happen because the police had proof that the door was locked from the inside and he had all the drugs on his bedside cupboards. I have a little .38 special gun at home. And I remember one day sitting on the corner of the bed having the gun to my head, and I had all intentions of pulling that trigger because I just felt that I couldn't deal with everything anymore. But as I was sitting there, I was thinking about my children, and then I realized they don't deserve a life without me. I need to be there for them. I need to help them. I'm their mum. I need to get them through life and help them be successful young individuals. And if I take myself out of the picture, that will not be fair to them. At that point as well, he passed away a week before our divorce went through. So I still qualified for group life through the employer where I was working. So I had a little nest egg. I had to hide it away in a trust for about a period of a year because after he passed away, I had people he owed money to, drug dealers, ex-boyfriends, you name it, crawling out of the woodworks wanting money from me. So we decided to hide the money away for a period of a year. After that year, I sold that little house next to the petrol depot. My mom sold her place and we bought a bigger home for us and my two girls to make a new beginning. And that was my absolute lightning bolt moment because I knew then that this secret I'm carrying inside has such a bad effect on my life. All my decisions I'm making, all my relationships I have with other people are affected negatively by this dark secret I'm carrying around. And that's when I decided it's time to tell my story. That was my new beginning and it was my turning over a new page in life and just starting up with the children in a new home. And speaking up was a big thing because before the time you don't know how people will react, what people will say. So I must admit it was scary to do that because you're not sure how people will react. It was difficult telling my children, so that was very hard. But they have worked through it as well, and they've also made peace with what had happened. I am extremely angry at him still for what he had done to me and how he had violated me and, the betrayal that came with it. We had the picture perfect life and I thought he was my soulmate, and to have someone that you think is your soulmate destroy you so much, it's not fair. So I'm very angry at him for taking that away from me. But having said that, you can't remain angry always. So although I am angry at him for what he's done, I have made peace with everything that has happened, because it's important to get to that point where you know it's happened, you've dealt with it, you've made peace with it, and you've moved on. What I'd like to do is encourage other rape survivors or survivors of abuse out there, not to keep it to themselves, to speak out. I know it feels sometimes difficult because you don't know how people will react, but there are people out there who offer help, who offer support. Because healing is important. I thought I could cope dealing with it on my own, not telling anyone. I thought I was doing okay, just keeping it to myself. It took me a while to realize that keeping it inside and not speaking about it was the wrong thing to do because of the negative effect it had on my life. So it's important to speak about it, to seek counseling, and to work through it. It takes a while, it doesn't happen overnight, but you need to work through it. There's always a way to get through it. You just need to reach out and get the help that you need. EPIC stands for Empowering People in Crisis, and our main focus is to support survivors of rape and abuse. So I started with this one little room in my house in October 2010, and then I registered EPIC Foundation in April 2013. That June, I got the Lead SA Hero of the Month award for the work that we've been doing in the Gauteng province, which was a huge honor for us, and it really helped give more exposure to EPIC Foundation, not just to get support, but to let people out there know about us and know who to approach to get help and support. The first time that I actually told my story was on 702, and I was sitting there with a microphone in my face, and it just dawned on me that I'm about to tell thousands of people my story.